Okay, let's move to the other big story that we are tracking. The Supreme Court has now asked the centre to come up with a swift decision on the Uniform Civil Code to bring an end to what it says is the continuing confusion over personal laws. The Apex Court told the Solicitor General to seek the government's view, posted the matter for further hearing after 3 weeks. A bench of Justices Vikramjit Sen and Shiva Kirti Singh questioned the government about its mandate on framing the Uniform Civil Code. The Supreme Court backed an equal yardstick for all religions in matters of law. The bench was hearing a petition challenging the legal provision that compels Christian couples to wait for at least 2 years for divorce. Okay, has the time come for a Uniform Civil Code? Is this an idea whose time has come? Joining me now, Abhishek Manu Singhvi of the Congress Party, its spokesperson and Member of Parliament. Sambit Patra, National Spokesperson BJP. Also in the studio, Saif Mahmood, lawyer in the Supreme Court. Abhishek Manu Singhvi, do you believe that the time has come for a Uniform Civil Code? A time at least for a wider debate and a less polarized and shrill Hindu versus others debate of the kind that we've had in this country in the past?
Rajdeep, let me tell you that a UCC is not a pressing of a button, a destination that you press it today and it appears magically tomorrow. There are 2 or 3 things we forget, and I'll be very brief. Firstly, we forget the advised, deliberate decision of the framers, who according to most of us were much wiser than all of us put together, to not put it in the fundamental rights but in the directive principles as an ideal to be progressed towards. Secondly, by the very act of putting it in the directive principles, of course it is an ideal to which we must always try and approximate. But what is the precondition for that, Rajdeep? The precondition is that there must be broad consensus, not maybe 100% but broad consensus, a climate of cooperation, consensus, acceptance. Today,
Mr. Singhvi, those are all very fine words. As far as principles, those are fine words. Who's going to build that broad consensus? Should the government not take the first step?
I'll tell you.
Your Congress government, when you were in power, never took the step.
Rajdeep, you don't allow me to come to the point. This is the last time, the last moment when you or anybody else should be talking of a UCC. It's bizarre. It's a farce. If the government tries to promote a UCC concept today, you are having a series of Sakshis, Muzaffarnagar, Sangeet Soms, Sudhindra Kulkarnis, day after day. Never before in the history of India has there been a most concentrated assault in the last 18 months on divisiveness in our country. And then in the middle of that, you want to talk of even the approach towards the consensus.
It's not me. I am only talking the Supreme Court.
You want to talk of cooperation.
Sir, I have raised this issue because the Supreme Court has raised it.
No.
Why are you blaming me?
1 minute.
Supreme Court has asked the government to come and tell us where it stands on the UCC.
Rajdeep, you are not listening to me.
I am.
When I say you, I don't mean you personally.
Good.
I am saying that the government of India can hardly suggest today, having itself created 90% being responsible, both as the party in power, as the government of India, as a particular party with a particular philosophy, having had in 18 months the most concentrated form of divisive India by multiple incidents, is the last person to be able to go anywhere near creating that atmosphere.
Okay.
I would be happiest if in some time in the future we attain that ideal. But how can you attain the ideal when on the one hand you have such incidents?
Sir,
how can the government watch moral authority with what practical authority do it?
So when you were in power for years, you all made no step towards it. Now you are saying the BJP is in no position because of the atmosphere created to push ahead.
We did. No, Rajdeep, we did. There were several attempts, but we always desisted when it meant ramming it down your throat without an adequate degree of consensus.
Okay,
we made attempts, we made initiatives. But whenever it came to a situation where I had to ram it down somebody's throat, we desisted. Rightly so.
Can I come to Sambit Patra? Sambit Patra, there is the question that Abhishek Manu Singhvi is raising, saying the atmosphere in this country at the moment is not such where you can even debate the Uniform Civil Code, because it will be seen as an attempt by the government of the day to thrust its view of what it believes should be a Uniform Civil Code in this country, what should be the personal laws of this country at a time when Dr. Singhvi believes that there is a growing majority-minority divide. Do you agree that this is not the right time for a debate on the Uniform Civil Code?
I'm sorry to learn. I mean, though I respected Mr. Abhishek Manu Singhvi as a great lawyer, but his question is in contradiction to what the Supreme Court feels. Because the Supreme Court feels, contrary to the view of the so-called great lawyer of Congress, that the situation in this country presently is the best situation where the government should in fact bring in the UCC, that is the Uniform Civil Code. None other than the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court asked the government, why don't you implement the UCC? If the Supreme Court would have felt contrary to and in lines with what Mr. Abhishek Manu Singhvi is suggesting, that the atmosphere is not right, then the Supreme Court would have said so, that the atmosphere is not right. Why a UCC should be brought in? So here you are, Mr. Singhvi, caught red-handed today.
Will the BJP, is the BJP therefore going to go ahead with it? Are you going to try and build the consensus?
Yes.
Or are you also, much like when the Congress was in power, say that we are trying to create an atmosphere in the country?
Now give me some time. This is a very serious question which I should deliberate upon in elaboration. Number one, as far as the Bharatiya Janata Party and I being the spokesperson of the party is concerned, here is what our manifesto had to say. BJP believes that there cannot be general equality till such time India adopts a uniform civil code which protects the right of all women, and the BJP reiterates its stand to draft a uniform civil code drawing upon the best traditions and harmonizing them with the modern times. This is what the party says. Now what the government feels, though as a spokesperson I would not be able to preempt what the government would be answering on the court of law 3 weeks from today, but this is what Ravi Shankar Prasad, the law minister then 1 year ago, 29th December, gave a reply in writing to the Parliament. The reply was, the government is willing to bring in the Uniform Civil Code in line with the constitutional provision, but only after widespread consultations with all political parties and stakeholders consultation would be required for the step in this regard. It's as clear as that.
Dr. Patra, that was in December. We are now in the month of October. 9 months later, no move has been made. It appears the BJP says all this in the manifesto. Once you're in government, you realize the limitations of trying to impose a uniform civil code. That is the reality. It's a difficult step. A lot of people believe it's, abracadabra, it won't happen. It is going to take time. Saif Mahmood, is there a sense that the minority community is ready for some changes in the personal law, or would we go back to a situation like Shah Banu in the 1980s if an attempt was made to in some way review or reverse Muslim personal law?
There is no doubt that the time has come that we need to reform Muslim personal law. Not only Muslim personal law but also Hindu law. But what the minorities really fear is this, that this uniform civil code should not be a euphemism for Hindu law. Hindu law cannot be imposed on the Muslims or the minorities in the garb of imposing a uniform civil code. There's obviously no doubt and no quarrel about the fact that the laws need to be amended and need to be brought in sync with the equality.
Specifics, for example, if there is a law, as was in the case of maintenance in the Shah Banu case, which was seen to be anti-woman in a way, would the Muslim community be ready, or would the ulemas be out on the street?
The ulema in any case would be out on the street whatever you do. So in my view, the ulema should be kept out of this. And the talks should be with the jurists in the Muslim community, with the more learned people who know the law. The ulama should perhaps restrict themselves only to religion.
But you believe that the situation is more propitious today than it was in the 1980s, when you remember what the Congress government did with the Shah Banu case?
Yeah, it certainly is, and I must also say that both these parties, the Congress as well as the BJP, neither of them is interested in reforms in personal law. The purported promise of the BJP to have a uniform civil code as well as the Congress's opposition, both are simply farce, because both parties, and I can give you examples, have taken regressive steps.
Give me one.
Today, in 2015, the Maharashtra government has introduced a Buddhist marriage bill. Buddhists till now are governed by the Hindu law. Now you want to disintegrate them and create a Buddhist marriage bill. On the one hand you talk of uniformity in law, on the other hand you
this is the BJP government.
The BJP government in 2015, yes, the draft is ready.
That exactly is
and Rajdeep, one more example. Yes. In 1976, the Special Marriages Act, which in my view is in the nature of an optional civil code, was amended by the Congress government to include special provisions for Hindus. These are all regressive enactments, and you talk about uniform civil code here.
Abhishek Manu Singhvi and Sambit Patra, Saif Mahmood is putting it brilliantly today. He's exposing both of you and this farcical debate that we've had in this country on uniform civil code. The BJP has used it to strengthen its Hindutva agenda, and the Congress has used it to play its minority politics. And the reality is, neither of you are really interested in having a uniform personal law system that will be progressive. Abhishek Manu Singhvi, Sambit Patra, 30 seconds each to respond to what Saif Mahmood has said, the expose in a way of your double standards. First you, Dr. Singhvi.
The Congress stand is clear. We have been unsuccessful because of that stand. The stand is that we will not do anything unless we feel that there is an all-party consensus and a large, palpable consensus in the country. Now that has been missing both from our regimes, but it is much more so missing now since the last 18 months. We are not certainly going to ram it down or force it down. It requires a consensus which has eluded this country for a long time. Now I believe that yes, there have been regressive moments in this whole movement. I believe that there are secular elements of various laws which can be picked up without much problem and put into a code which where you don't debate the religious ritualistic parts. But unfortunately today the climate for some time has been such that even when you pick up a purely secular element, I believe for example that the maintenance element could be largely one such element.
Sir, you backed off in the 1980s. You backed off in 1980s. You know what happened with the Shah Bano judgment. You backed out. I will give Sambit Patra for the last 30 seconds.
We are now talking.
Sir.
We are now talking.
I'm running out of time.
We are now talking 2015.
Okay, that's what I'm saying.
2015 is 20 years away from 1990. Today when the Supreme Court exhorts, I ask one question. With what face, with what moral authority, with what tools will the government of the day, which alone has to do it through the Supreme and to answer the Supreme Court, with what moral authority are they even going to initiate the process of a consensus?
Okay, you made that point without answering my question of what went wrong in the 80s, but I'll give 30 seconds to Sambit Patra, and please stick to 30 seconds, Sambit. The fact is the BJP puts these things in the manifesto. You don't have either the moral authority or the political authority to actually push through a uniform civil code.
Or is there a draft? Does anybody have a draft?
You don't have a draft also. You
Number one. Can you want to give me 30 seconds, but you all are speaking for half an hour. 30 seconds. Number one, as far as the Uniform Civil Code is concerned, the biggest problem with Uniform Civil Code is most of the people make it a secular communal issue. No, it is not a secular communal issue. It is an issue of social reforms, as has been put by Baba Sahib Ambedkar himself in the Constitution.
Sir,
Nehru also wanted a Uniform Civil Code.
Sir Mahmood says you don't even have a draft. You put it in your manifesto without a draft. It's your attempt to push your agenda.
There are pseudo-seculars who want everything in this universe to change within this 1 year. Where were all these pseudo-seculars when the country was being ruled for 65 years?
Okay.
We will show you the draft, Baba. Don't worry.
Okay, I look forward to it. I look forward to it. I look forward to that right time. I look forward to the right time. I'm leaving it there. I look forward to the right time when the BJP comes up with a draft and the Congress tells me which is the appropriate time that they actually believe a consensus can be created. Saif Mahmood, Abhishek Manu, Singhvi and Sambit Patra, I appreciate your joining us on our Face Off tonight. Let's turn to the other big story, because coming up next, the Sahitya Akademi revolt is escalating. Number of writers returning the award now nears 30. We'll be joined by two sides to the